It's 1999, and while you were struggling with algebra homework, 14-year-old kid from New Jersey was making more money in a single day than most adults make in a year. But here's a twist that'll blow your mind. It wasn't some trading prodigy with inside information or a trust fund. It was just a regular teenager with a computer, an internet connection, and a strategy so simple it was almost insulting to Wall Street. Every single trade he made, he won. Think about that for a second. Professional traders with decades of experience, million-dollar algorithms, and teams of analysts can't achieve what this kid did from his bedroom. So how did he crack the code that stumped the world's smartest financial minds? Was he a genius or a criminal? This is the story of Jonathan Lebed, who in just 6 months turned his pocket change into over $800,000. Because Jonathan didn't just beat the system. He held a mirror up to Wall Street and showed them their own reflection. Welcome to Home of Finance, where we dive deep into the biggest financial mysteries. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. Jonathan grew up in Cedar Grove, New Jersey, in a middle-class family where every dollar mattered. His father worked as an accountant, crunching numbers for other people's money while barely making ends meet at home. At dinner, conversations always turned to bills, late payments, and dreams they couldn't afford. And every night the phone would ring. They would answer to hear yet another creditor, constant reminder of what they couldn't afford. But then something changed. Jonathan's uncle started visiting more often, talking about stocks with an excitement Jonathan had never heard from any adult in his house.
Made $3 grand on Cisco today.
Jonathan saw something he'd never seen before. His father's eyes light up with possibility. That's when Jonathan discovered AOL stockboard messages. While his parents slept, he'd study charts, read posts, and slowly piece together how this world worked. He wasn't just curious, he was desperate to escape the financial anxiety that suffocated his home. But what happened next would change everything and land him in the crosshairs of the most powerful financial institution in the world. At age 14, Jonathan had convinced his parents to let him open a custodial trading account with $8,000 that his parents scraped together from birthday gifts and even took out a loan for. His strategy was simple but brilliant. He'd pick small and obscure stocks that nobody talked about. Companies like FTEC, ETEK, and ONTX, super cheap penny stocks trading under $5. Then each morning he'd buy thousands and thousands of shares. Here's where it gets interesting. Under usernames like Lebed TG1 and Big Money 2001, Jonathan would flood AOL message boards with posts about these stocks. FTEC is ready to explode. This is the next Microsoft. Get in now before it's too late. And like clockwork, other investors would see these posts, get caught up in the hype, and start buying. The stock price would surge 50%, 100%, sometimes 200% in a single day. Jonathan would sell everything at the peak, pocketing massive profits while other investors were left holding worthless shares. In just 2 short years, he turned that $8,000 into over $800,000, worth nearly $1.6 million in today's money. Shai, a clown and Kirk's son, was now driving a BMW, wearing designer clothes, and casually dropping thousands of dollars on electronics. His parents watched in amazement as their teenager made more money in a week than they made in an entire year. Jonathan was getting bolder. His posts became more aggressive and more convincing, now making wild claims like this stock will make you rich. And as just a teenager, Jonathan had mastered the art of creating artificial demand. What Jonathan didn't realize was that someone was watching. Every post, every trade, every dollar he made was being documented by investigators who were about to turn his world upside down. Jonathan didn't know it at the time, but his life was about to change forever. On September 20th in the year 2000, Jonathan's phone rang. It wasn't a creditor this time, it was the Securities and Exchange Commission, who told him they had 11 charges of security fraud waiting for him. And literally overnight, Jonathan went from teenage millionaire to public enemy #1. The government's case was devastating. They had documented 44 trades where Jonathan would buy stocks, pump them on message boards, then sell them at massive profits. They called it pump and dump, a scheme that had cost other investors hundreds of thousands of dollars. But here's where the story takes its most shocking turn. Jonathan didn't deny what he did. Instead, he did something that stunned everyone. He fought back.
I was just sharing my opinions about stocks I believed in. If other people decided to buy based on my research, that's their choice. How is that different from what Wall Street analysts do every day?
And he had a point. Every single day, analysts on CNBC would recommend stocks, causing the price to skyrocket. The only difference? They worked for billion-dollar firms, and Jonathan was just a kid from New Jersey. SEC demanded Jonathan return over $285,000 in profits and pay a $12,500 fine. But Jonathan's lawyers argued something that would expose the entire system forever. The SEC couldn't do it. They had no proof that anyone actually lost money by following Jonathan Jonathan's advice, but Jonathan was learning a harsh lesson about power. It didn't matter if he was right or wrong. It was a threat to the established order, and the system would crush him to protect itself. In the end, Jonathan settled. He paid the fine, returned the money, was banned from ever posting stock recommendations again. The SEC claimed victory, calling it the first successful prosecution of internet stock fraud. The real twist? Jonathan's story exposed something much bigger than teenage fraud. Revealed how the entire stock market operates on hype, speculation, and insider influence, and how that's only considered legal when the right people do it. Jonathan Lebed wasn't just a teenager who got too greedy. He was a kid who accidentally exposed the hypocrisy of a system that punishes the small players while rewarding the connected ones for the exact same behavior. The real question isn't whether Jonathan was guilty. It's whether we're all playing a rigged game where the rules only apply to those without power. And that's a truth Wall Street never wanted you to discover. Thanks for watching Home of Finance. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.